Yeah, I'm back for another one. It's gonna be something, you know, for the people that know when I change my avatar, that's when I'm pretty much chopping up and coming in and I'm gonna deal with things accordingly. This might actually go private and I'll put this on another channel. But I wanna talk about truth as I know it. Truth as I know it, this guy, family man, you know, ever since the time I've, heard him on Roger's channel, you know, he tried to influence, he tried to help people, he tried to work through things, through different struggles, and dealing and working with people, you know. And like I said, hey Wanda, what's going on? You might don't want to be on this. This is gonna get a little rough. I just did one earlier, but this one might get a little rough. Um, like I said, I've talked to guys in the ministry. I've actually got my bones over there talking with guys, dealing with guys. Like I said, when I first came over in that space, I generally thought this was a situation to where the men and the brothers, what's going on, Queena, and we all get together, work for the greater good. Then I started learning other factors of the space and to know that some guys do this and some guys do that. And I'm trying to have an understanding of what was the real function of the manosphere and how it came about. So I started talking more to the elders of Manosphere 1. You know, Manosphere 2 people know BGS, Anger Man, Obsidian, all those guys. But going back to Mike V, his name before, and the other guys, MOT, BMT, back in those days, LAR, all those guys, Wacky World of O TV, his channel. These guys, broke down certain things. Complex. I think Complex came in, I don't know, right in, I think on the back end when they were getting ready to close it down, when they were getting shut down by a lot of flagging from females and stuff. Because, there were some channels that were actually giving good content and helping, but then there were some channels that were just horrible. They were going at the women and throwing mud and everything. So it got to a degree where women didn't like it, so they broke down the first manosphere. Second manosphere came back in, from my knowledge, which I'm grasping from, that the second wave of the manosphere came in to actually, you know, put a little more work in, help some guys, but then it more or less turned entertainment, you know. And three was going into tech. The Manosphere 3 was going into tech and actually getting the word out for the most part. But like I said, back to what I was talking about in regards to Truth as I Know It. So with him, that video he just put out, Truth as I Know It, he called a lot of names out, but more or less, I'm looking at the editing, how he did it. Man, it was awesome, the video. Then turned around how he, kind of more or less, and he always talks about structuring the family. This is one of the biggest things that I always try to talk about on my channel, even when I started my second channel. My first channel, I was trying to get guys into trucking, trying to get guys to work this and that, didn't get no push, you know. Then got into getting my family structure, and I said, well, let me talk to these guys from their side, meet them where they are. And it came from not me bashing the women, but just being truthful. When women did, horrible things, I called it out. Same as I called it out with men, you know. So the guys kind of related to me. But then when I talk about family and therefore when they don't have that family structure and that type of, situation, they kind of push me to the side due to the fact because I'm already happy. They're not happy. Their relationship's not this and that. So it's like I'm shaming them or putting it in their face to the point where My whole thing was I'm trying to get guys to understand it works. Getting married, having a relationship, being in a family only works when you allow. You know, cutting out all the she this and she that. You chose that woman. If this woman is a bad deal for you, you chose her. You know, it's easy for you to get out of this bad deal, get a divorce, walk away from the relationship. That's on you. If she's that bad, you know, most guys will walk away from relationships over petty things. Just like there's some women that walk away from petty things. And my thing is this: a lot of women want security. There's no way of putting it to the point. If a man is a provider, that woman wants that protection. She wants that, security in that relationship. If you have the money, of course she's gonna stick around. That's a given. Mostly all women are taught that. I mean, even with men nowadays, most men are coming from that standpoint as well. They want to be secure in a relationship. Because most women are making money now, they're taking care of the men. So the roles are reversing to the degree where men are falling off their square. As a man, you're the protector and the provider, but your woman makes more money than you, and it gets you to a point to where, you know, you kind of step behind and let her lead. That's the man's fault because he wants to take that back seat to get the money that the wife is getting. You know, from times that my wife made more money than me and I made more money than her, she always had this thing to understand that the man is the head of household. That's how it was always in her family, in her house, you know, that the man runs the house. You know, we make decisions, but to a degree, I married you on the principle that you know what you're doing. Now, in the situation that you don't know what you're doing, she's going to have to second guess these things. She's going to have to put herself in a situation to say, do I want to stay with this man? Do I want to work it out with this man? And so forth. So a lot of people, they want to be the ruler. They want to be the king. One time I was at this place getting my oil changed. And it was crazy because there was about, I say, two older women there. And it was me. And I don't know. I know it was like two older women. And then it was me. And the guy coming in, he's talking, to the women because he was looking at some on TV or some, I guess, Jerry Springer, one of those shows. And the crazy part was when it came down to it, the lady was talking, and he was like, "Man, I'm the boss. I run my house." That's all he kept saying. The women were like, "Oh, you say that now. Your wife come in here, and she's gonna be this." And he's like, "No, no, that's not true." He said, "I run my house. I run my house. I this and I'm that." And the women just kept saying, these older women, "Nah, you say that now. Your wife know you. You know your wife run that house. I don't know why you saying that. I don't know why you acting like this." And when it came down to it, he said, "Look, my wife is coming in here in a few minutes. She's gonna drop off my lunch because I left my lunch at home. And I will sit here and let you know." And the crazy part was, I'm thinking that he's gonna call his wife and tell his wife something. And he's sitting there just talking and running up and joking and playing with the women. It was, just comedy. It wasn't nothing horrible. It wasn't nothing like he was putting it on the women. But the point of reference was he was just telling them, "I run my house. I do this and I do that." And his wife comes up. And the craziest thing about it with his wife, when his wife comes up, she looks and she said, "Hey, how you doing, baby? Come to bring him his food." He said, "Baby, come here, come here, come here." He was so ready to tell her. He was like, "Who run the house?" And she was like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "Tell these ladies who run our house." And the funny part was the lady, she looked over, she said, "He do." And all the older ladies were just, "Oh my goodness, what girl, you shouldn't be saying that. You shouldn't be doing this and that." And the number one thing that he told them? Well, I'm sorry, that she said it costs to be the boss. It costs to be the boss. So when she said that, the other women looked at him and he said, exactly. That's why I run my house. And they was like, why you don't do this and that? She's like, no, it costs. I don't want that responsibility. Because if anything goes wrong, I gotta fix it, I gotta handle it, I gotta deal with it. And that's what put that situation aside from all the other arguments that the ladies was saying and dealing with. It's a lot of responsibility. If you're willing to handle that responsibility, step up to the plate. Most people are, most people aren't. But at that situation, it costs to be the boss. So in that situation, it's kind of funny because when you really look at it, how many people are willing to foot the bill and being the boss and taking on responsibility when everything goes right and everything goes wrong? See, that's what we don't always talk about. You know, what's going on, Lonzo? Like I said, I ain't gonna have this up for too much long. I'm actually probably gonna take this down because just talking about Truth as I Know It, his video earlier, man, you need to go check it out. I might even put it in the description of this so people can go back and save it and look at it later. It was a good video, you know, and he broke down a lot of stuff where some guys in the ministry ain't gonna like it, but it is what it is because he was more or less focused on, you know, the situation at hand that a lot of people aren't being truthful about situations between, you know, women and men and what's going on. Talked about how MOT Rael, he talked about how Rael, well, I probably put it back in there later and I keep it up for a day and I'll take it down. But he literally talked about how Rael was talking about getting a buying a city. He talked about how Rael was thinking about buying a city and he literally was dropped. He was dropped from alive because he was talking about buying a city. That's empowering to buying a city. So my thing is, why would you get offended by somebody talking about buying a city, talking about doing something as good as that? Like, how many people are thinking about buying a city? How many people knew you could buy a city? Rael don't even have a channel, so that shows, you know, the amount of respect that everybody knows this guy, and this guy don't even have a channel. Everybody deals with certain people, and to a degree, and it just shows like how this space is changing for either the good or for the bad. I'm mostly saying for the bad because until everybody start getting on the same page of working with each other, which they're not, these guys are done, you know. And to a degree, I talk to everybody, I deal with everybody, but it comes to a point. My bad. But like I said, it comes to a point to where how many of us gonna really keep going through these same beat up, knockdown talk relationship and pointing fingers and stuff? Stuff get old over time, man. Who wants to keep going through that and having these conversations and throwing mud at people? Like, I don't get it. You know, my thing, like I said, I looked at this space as helping each other, and to a degree, it helped some people. You know, seen Young Grizzly yesterday. I always like his insight. You know, Young Grizzly comes from his standpoint, and I like his standpoint on how he moves. There's a lot of people I deal with in this space. So I really truly never have problems with people in this space to a degree. You know, within that realm of guys, who do their thing. But it comes a point to where how is the message being received and to whom is helping? You know, that's my biggest thing where I kind of focus more on the finance and try to help people. I'm not in the finance, I'm in the trucking. You know, I try to help people in trucking. Guys don't want to drive. Guys want to get to a pathetic, in my opinion, situation, talk about the issues versus helping themselves. And helping yourselves is what? You seeking the knowledge, going out here and getting the stuff done. That's always been my biggest thing about helping guys and guys knowing the knowledge is, I told guys, man, you can get over here at this job, make about $15 each. Get over here at this job, make about $20 each. But you rather go to a job that pays this, you know, go be your own boss, which is not paying for this, and I get it. Everybody wants to strive their life to maintain freedom at a job and throughout. But to my understanding is this: bills got to get paid. If you own child support got to get paid. If you're living somewhere, rent is due. If you got a car note, car insurance is due. Your cell phone is due. You need money now. In order to get money now, it's the process. If I'm at this job, I can go to another job. Deal with the process. How many people are willing to deal with the process now and to get their money later? You know, okay. But the point of reference is how many people are willing to do that? There's not much. How many people are willing to move the needle and do what it takes? Go work a job at the sanitation department. Go pick up trash. That's something you don't want to do. The trash stinks. I've been around trash, and I've seen people that did. It's not a pleasant job, but what? It's a job that you have to work with. You know. Yeah. But it's literally a job that you have to work with, and a lot of people be on these jobs, you know. And what are you doing for yourself? That's what I be trying to push the most into trying to get people to figure out what they trying to do with their life. Because the biggest issue with a lot, who are you dealing with? You know, what type of influence you have for your family, what type of influence for your friends. Because you look at this, a lot of us, man, like I talk to try to get guys to understand in the manosphere, a lot of those women you deal with mean you no good. Like literally. How many of these guys, sometimes I have conversations offline, literally talking to guys, and we laugh at all the guys that complain about the women and literally make bad decisions upon bad decisions, and then want to shoot their self in the foot by pointing the finger of how bad these women are. But there's only one common denominator in this situation, and that's you keep picking these bad women. You know, it was a funny. I was looking at a video and with my wife. Well, not even with my wife. I was watching the video, and it was crazy. And I told her, I was like, "Did you hear this?" And the funniest thing was she started, saying that she can't relate to the video. You know, when the lady was talking about, oh, your mom teach you this, how to, be this and that, and you know, it was just crazy how you, the videos that I was looking at, and she was saying I can't relate to that. Some people could, some people can, but the point, just like wow, yeah, same thing with the SBE, shame, blame, and explain, and I can't cut for that. I hear guys when they talk about it because without a doubt, women do come across like this. Women do this, but the point of it is, like I told guys, when it come down to it, what force do you have in dealing with these type of women? Like literally, these type of women you dealing with, why do you have to deal with it? Do you have to? Yeah, and I never get that with guys because I'm like, dude, you generally don't have to deal with these type of women, honestly speaking. But how many guys, when they talk with these women or deal with these women, they keep saying how all women are bad. Well, if all women are bad, why most of these guys are married? Then when you talk about you deal with a certain woman, well, you got lucky. How did I get lucky? And how did all these other men get lucky? And you keep getting no bad results. It's from the choices that you make. It's from the particular women that you deal with. That's the issue. That's mainly the issue. You know, and that's always the biggest structure upon you getting into these relationships. The people you pick, generally. No, I always say, when guys be like these girls out here, what is it called? Pogo stick, bouncing from dude to dude to dude on the pogo stick and all that. And I'm like, why would I talk to a girl that's promiscuous like that? Why would I even have a relationship with a girl that's like that? I told several guys, I'm like, you know, I said this on MOT's channel the other day. I said, for guys that want to literally get married and the guys that be talking about this marriage and this and that, you're literally saying that you don't like big girls, but then you'll have sex with a big girl. So that gives her validation. You know, if a dude said a chick is ugly, but he'll have sex with her, it gives her validation. So for all the guys to say, man, these guys keep messing with these ugly women, but most of you guys, you won't date them, you'll just have sex. You're giving these women validation to the point where I'm like, what are y'all complaining about? Most of the guys that say one thing do another. You know how many guys that are married in this space and talk down on women? You should be divorced. You know how many guys are in relationships? They talk about, they just expose one guy for being with a baby mother and then choose to sit here and talk about baby mamas are bad. This guy literally said baby mamas are bad, they no good, they're not to be this, they're not to be that. But then all the while he's dealing with a baby mother. But because she's a different race, it's okay. I'm like, how does it make sense? How does that even make sense? Then going into conversations about, women in their size. One guy, he's always going at women that are bigger. Come to find out, see a picture of his old lady, she's bigger. And I'm like, how, Sway? Make that make sense. You gonna sit here, complain about big chicks, and your chick is big. I always say this. If your girl is gaining weight, go to the gym with her. If you're a physically fit dude, most of the time it's gonna look shameful to the point where your woman will go work out because you're working out. She's not gonna sit there and look at you all toned and chiseled and she's over there with a keg just like a dude. She got a keg stomach. She's gonna want to work out too. Same rule applies. When a man is sitting there with a fine looking chick and he's gonna be like, oh well, she's okay. But it's to a point where if that wife says something like, baby, I go to gym, I work out all the time, why you can't do nothing with yourself? You're gaining a little weight. You're starting to this. You're starting to that. He's gonna start working out. You know, I seen a video of this guy. He was looking for his phone, and they said, "Call my phone to see where my phone's at." The guy literally had his friend's name saved in his phone as Fat ASS Dude. Try not to cuss a lot, but cut it down. But he saved him as Fat Dude, and I'm literally like, dang, they got this guy saved as Fat Dude in his phone, you know, and it gets to a point where you get involved in these relationships and you steady pointing the finger at how bad this woman is. You chose this woman. You steady pointing the finger at how bad this man is. You chose this man. That's why I told you I don't like doing a lot of gender war topics, because a lot of time it's a never ending battle. How can I sit here and keep talking about how bad these women are? There's other women out there that have substance, that carry themselves properly, they do good things, but people aren't picking them. One guy said on the channel I was on the other day, he said, all those women aren't the finest looking women in the world. Well, what type of woman do you want? Go out there and seek that type of woman. There's a lot of, my wife, when I first got with her, she didn't look at me as being the man that God sent her. She didn't look at me as an average dude. Most women, they have their preference, you know, and they sit here, see guys, and it's out to a determining, you don't look at people in a certain light until they bring that light to you. You know, Same thing with my wife. I just thought she was a nice looking woman. But over time, seeing the way she carried herself and things that she did for herself, for her kids, and around, that got me more interested in her. That made me want to see her as my wife versus, just being some chick I know or some chick I'm trying to get with or something like that. You know, Kevin said it best. A lot of guys already know the women they're going to marry already. Like I always keep saying about different relationships, and it's funny because a lot of times when women used to get mad at Kevin, I used to always say the best way a lot of women can prove Kevin wrong is to go ahead and just get married. That's the best way to prove him wrong. Go ahead and get married. You know, because you can say anything you want, but to a degree, if you get married, what can Kevin say? All the stuff he said about you, it goes out the window when you're married. It goes out the window when have someone that you're with. So it kind of defeats the purpose, don't it? You know, when you sit here and say that, you know, you this type of person, Kevin calls you this and Kevin calls you that. When you pull up and say, Kevin, all that stuff you said about me, I'm married now. What you got to say? Only thing he can say is how long it's gonna last. You know, that's one of the biggest things I kept saying about with people is a lot, especially with the women. If they want to prove Kevin right, they just got to get married. That's all. They got married. What can Kevin say? You know, Same thing with any other relationship. Proving people wrong. If you want to prove somebody wrong, the best way to prove them wrong is to go ahead and show and prove. If you sit here and say that um you know these women are horrible, then go deal with other women. You know, if it gets to a point all women are like that, to a degree, I can understand that. Like I said, you might need to change the city, you might need to change your circle. My thing of it was, my wife wasn't even from my side of the town. My wife did not stay in Decatur. So, you know, to a degree, how many times you got to go through these situations talking with people? You know, how many times you got to, yeah, don't apply, let it fly. Because in most situations, most people more or less focus on what other people are going through, and they want to use that as the be all to be all for me to handle my relationship and go through what I'm doing. My friend went through this, and I'm gonna go through this with these chicks. These are two different people, unless they come out the same household. And I noticed that when I had two of my friends, they were dating these two sisters. They had the same mentality because why? They grew up in the same household. They were slightly different, but mostly they were the same. Their parents raised them. Yep, proxy. The parents raised them this way. Their friends around them. You seen her friend. She seen her friend act a certain way because she was there. So she picked up those bad habits. And a lot of times, even in the household with our family, you know, we might say, "Man, I'm never gonna let my brother talk, my husband talk to me this type of way," but then you'll sit there and do it. Same rule apply when you fool around with men. Men's, "Well, I'm never gonna let my wife treat me like this." But then what happens? Same rule apply. Same thing. So like, what are you structured with? What are you dealing with? You're going through the same situation. Hold on real quick. Like I said, I just listen to Truth as I Know It, man, and just listening to that video, like I said, I might put it in there later. But that one where he had just talking about the growth of the manosphere and how things are changing and how people are changing, it's just crazy, man. We have these situations where we go back and forth with each other. What we're actually supposed to be helping the youth. How's this helping the youth when all of us are not properly educating? We're just kind of pushing them away. I always say, all these other guys, they had 15, 20 years to mess up and deal with these women and get it wrong. Why we can't give these young people 15, 20 years of education so they can get it right with the next generation of women, you know? Because to a degree, it's gonna be some fire and brimstone. You know, it's gonna be a lot of. I mean, honestly speaking, I truly think it's gonna be a lot of women and men that aren't gonna get married for this situation to change. Be that as a man, people look at it. What Kevin was doing was right on the money because the more you prove him wrong, the better off of what we look. And as black people in our environment, and like I told people, I really don't do the race thing because my thing is it's mostly about money. It's not about because I'm black for the most part. It's mainly a money situation. A lot of people fail to realize that, you know, my money can influence, can help me better than to a certain degree in most cases. Most cases, not saying all. So for the naysayers trying to come in, but in most cases, my money can facilitate certain things for my life. And it's all about, how I want to put myself in a position to win, how I want to deal with my family, how I want to structure my kids, how I want to do everything can always benefit me on how I move. You know, if I want the best for my family, what I got to do? I got to work hard. I got to put my kids in a good school system. I got to put, my kids in the best light, to where they can be seen. You know, Dr. Dunbar, shout out to you. If my kids want to get into some of dealing with science, I know I can reach out to Dr. Dunbar. I always talk about if my son want to get into, dealing with some with life insurance, I can reach out to, you know, um, Alonzo. And I always say, To the degree I'm looking at that as far as the brotherhood and the structure right there. Because, you know, any other thing, like I say, I got a friend, he's a real estate agent. You know, biggest thing with MOT, with him running his system and the way he do with his company with trucking. You know, if I need something more into depth into dispatching and stuff, MOT is my guy. I can go reach out to him. Won't stray me, steer me astray. That he has the knowledge. He's been doing it for years. It ain't like he's in here trying to, just get over on people just to make all the money and this and the screw this and screw that. No, he's in the process of trying to help people win. Who's wanting to win or who's willing to win versus doing all this other stuff? You know, that's always the biggest issue with a lot of us. At what cost do we want to win? You know, how many people are we willing to sacrifice their lives for the greater good to make me feel good? Because like I keep saying, when it come down to it, a lot of these guys, they'll sit here and focus on, man, you shouldn't do like this, you shouldn't be with this woman. But then in return, they're the same way. Like I said, how many guys in this space, you know, talk about certain women, how they women look? How many guys talk about certain type of lifestyles? What type of lifestyle they live? You know, it's always I always say anything. You can be in and everybody on the camera because why? Nobody really knows the truth about you unless you really put it out there. How many of you guys really worth something, really doing something productive in their life? It's very few. There's not a lot of guys on YouTube actually putting in the work, actually dealing with people, showing them different alternatives, giving them a better, outlook on life, helping them out. A lot of the guys that's in the Tech G, Professor Black Ops, uh, Sub Zero, what is it? 80. I always forget his number, but Sub Zero. You got a lot of those guys in the tech that help people. They have tech classes. You got K Business Podcast. He helps so many people. You know, he had a video the other day talking about how you can get courses and, help people out and training them, doing courses that really help versus giving you a course on how you should look and how you should dress. No, a course on how you make money for your life and for your business. You know, a lot of guys want a lot of women. They don't even have money. How are you going to be the type of man that's going to take care of a family and you don't even have no money? You don't have no money. You're not doing nothing good for yourself. What woman wants you? I mean, that's just point blank. I don't know too many men that don't do nothing for their life but get the best woman they could possibly get. You know, bad for the noise, but same thing dealing with, you know, a lot of guys. How many men literally get all the baddest women and they don't even have proper hygiene? You don't brush your teeth. You don't put on deodorant. Come on now. That's what I'm like. To be the best, you got to compete. How many men are actually out here competing? This stuff's not come easy. How many men out here got these, in the field of expertise, you getting a job, you have to put in that time. You don't get Jay-Z never got Beyonce by just being, you know, Sean Carter. He got Beyonce by being Jay-Z, his alter ego. He had to transform himself into somebody, because if that was the case before he was rapping, Beyonce would have been there. Nobody could see Jay-Z. That's why he wasn't selected. Same rules apply to women. How many women, like with Beyonce, she she was decent. She can get a man, but the point of it was, what type of man was she gonna get? She dealt with a lot of guys before Jay Z, but the point of faction is, what man did she end up with? Those things into consideration. The type of dude she ended up with, was the type of guys that what she wanted to be with. the guys towards the end when she really started falling in, you know, figuring out with money, you can't move this way or you can't deal with this way. You know, I mean, to a degree, Beyonce, people pretty much know she had a run. She dealt with different guys and all that stuff. Nobody wants to talk about stuff like that, but she's high on the hog. Like these ridiculous prices for these tickets. Come on now, like, and then she did it around tax season too. I mean, you had people in their relationships. The one where the guy proposed to the woman, getting ready to get her a house. They were saving to buy a house, and she ultimately wanted to take her money and get Beyonce tickets. I'm like, that guy, he dodged the bullet by being with that type of, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, when you find people and they show you who they are, just believe them and dip. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and hope that this woman changes from being this so um materialistic, I should say, about Beyonce tickets, and this to this degree, to the point she putting her whole life pretty much at this point. Like, she could have been married, had a house, but instead she wanted to go to Beyonce concert. I mean, I don't even know how this guy even got with this woman and the mindset what made him stay interested in her. Like, she basically put pinholed him to marry her, according to somehow like she'll be happy if she got married. He did that, he proposed to her, looking at buying a house, and then that situation happened. Like, come on, like, I don't understand that one. Since I'm going on this manosphere and all this other stuff, rant, I might as well go into some of these other videos I be watching too, because like I said, I just can't get it, man. I don't understand it. Like, some of these people, man. Yeah, keep it techie as well, man. Forgot about keep it techie. Tell them, Stuart, how you doing? What's going on? But it just mainly, like I said, it's like we want to blame each other for our problems, but we are the problem. You know, if this man treats a woman a certain type of way, it's up to that woman to leave. You know, if a woman treats a man a certain type of way, it's up for that man to leave. I don't get it why we want to point the finger and shoot at each other, and when it goes down, you wrong. You treated this man wrong. This man left. What's the problem? You know, if it come down to it, he goes and finds somebody better, than so be it. You don't want him anyway. You don't want to treat him right. So what? You know, I really just don't get it. You know, a lot of people, that's it's a lot of dudes who don't really want to get married because what they see. But the point of it is, a lot of them just don't really know because they going off of everybody else's vibe. Like, honestly, being married is great. You know, being there with my wife, kids, being in a house where I seen Lamar Ball. I think what was it what was the youngest boy, Mello, and it was crazy. Hold on. So basically, with Lamelo Ball, Lamelo Ball. I mean, my yeah, Mello Ball. His he was doing an interview with Big Boy, And in the interview with Big Boy, they were sitting there talking to him, and he said that pretty much for the most part, he, liked his father, loved his father, this and that. But when it came down to it, it was kind of crazy because, they were asking him how was it growing up in the house with his, and he said pretty much for the most part, he's like it was cool. He's like, well, what did you call your dad when your dad, you called him? He's like, I called him dad, and he responded, what do you want, blank, and so I laughed at that, but he was just basically making a reference like your dad is this and your dad is that, and then you you grew up in a house with your dad, like your dad is this type of person, just trying to get that characteristic trait out of him. Like, how did your dad carry himself? You know, and it's cool. Even if your dad's not in that. I didn't grow up in the house with my dad when I got older. It was simply because my dad passed. But my mom was together. You know, I didn't see no likeliness of my dad ever, just leaving off or running off and stuff like that. It depends on situations as they got older. Who knows? But for the most part, they were cool. They loved each other. It was to the point like, why get married and you don't love or like this person? So they worked with each other. They did what they did. You know, and sometimes when people get a divorce, that doesn't take the fact of the way that your dad is still not going to be there for you. I don't get that. With a lot of these conversations with these guys, most of these guys, like we was on I think Ramil channel. Most of these guys, most of these dudes don't want their kids anyway. And Ramil and all, no, that's crazy. These dudes, no, no. Honestly speaking, I'm gonna say from that standpoint, Georgia Boy is probably 50% right. Most of these guys, you literally have to be around your child 24/7. I don't think most of these guys can take it. I don't think most of these guys, as these kids get older, life get harder for them, man. Like literally dealing with attitude, constantly not trying to break your foot off in your kid, but because of stuff that they do. I was just talking with my coworker today. He said middle school was the worst time he had with his son. Going into high school, he leveled out. But middle school, that was the worst time he had with his son due to the fact he said his son was just a complete butthole. He's like, his son wanted to act like this, he wanted to do like that, and it was just things that he wanted to do that he knew he shouldn't have been doing, but he tried to do them anyway. That's the level of understanding that most of these, dudes and having these situations, man, to a degree, dog. The way you carry yourself, the way you influence your kids, like, could you really be a good father for your kids without the mother there helping, that 50% or 75%? Because being honest, most people are not really there for their kids a whole lot. When I work a lot, if my wife wasn't there, how could I bring in the money that I want to bring in? So I'm glad my wife is there for that support and that can take the kids and do certain things. You know, when they were young, those were the prominent years I stuck around the most. I tried to be around in their face the most because you can't get that time back when they're young. When they get older, they're not gonna remember that. One guy I remember, he was in the military, moved furniture. This dude did like I think 4 or 5 tours to a certain degree. It was points to where he was gone for like 2 years. By the time he came back and retired, his youngest son was wilding out, cussing and calling his dad by his first name, and we was all looking like, man, you should knock that little kid out. But he was like, I can't. He's like, I got to get back into it because I haven't been around him for so long, and this disciplinary that I'm enforcing because he was a soldier. He got up in the rankings. I think he got up to sergeant or something like that. But he was up in the rankings to the point where he was like, man, this is one of my soldiers. I would have just docked him in the face. I'm not gonna take no disrespect. I'm not gonna do this and I'm not gonna do that. But it's to a point, and I got it, and I understood what he said. Like, you can't just blow all this at one time and like, look, you're gonna take this or else. These kids nowadays, they soft, man. You know how many suicide attempts that a lot of these young kids have done just on the premise of bullying, parents not liking them, just going through different phases, man. It's crazy. Yeah, yeah, that's true. Homeschooling, man, that's a round the clock thing. You know, it's like, woof. Yeah, that'd be cool, Doc Dunbar. But I mean, it, it's like real honesty, man. Even with the passport thing, I always, I really want to talk about that. If with the passport, if dudes want to get into passporting, cool. I'm all for it. Like, go ahead, do your thing. You know, I'm all for it. Go ahead, do your thing. My thing is this though. When it comes to the passport situation, like, hey, don't don't do it for the wrong reason. Don't do it because you sit up here and you listen to somebody, you know, tell you something and you ain't do your research. That's the biggest issue with a lot of guys. They don't do no research on nothing. They sit here, listen and talk, and hear other people say this and that. No research. So you jumping right into a pit, and they like, man, it's $1 million in a pit. I remember this this YouTuber. He always talk about strange things, and this guy, they were trying to, in Germany, they were trying to figure out this pit that was locked up and it had all this stuff over it. And the more you got down to it, it had don't enter in different kind of languages and stuff like that. It was a deep pit. And they put a mic down there and heard some yelling and screaming. They were giving prisoners a chance to get sentences off. Like, I gotta find this video. This is how crazy it was. They were giving prisoners chance, like sentences, like time off or time served if they go in the pit, because these people really want to know what's in that pit. That's how most guys are. You going in this pit just because you wanted something better or you want to get out of a situation. So they go in this pit, fool around, and there's so much craziness down there. Like, I don't know whatever the guy seen, he came back up horrified, wouldn't talk. He was mute for like months on end. They had to put him in a mental hospital. The guy didn't even want to talk about what he seen or heard down there or anything. He didn't want to talk about it. As soon as he got back good and everything, I don't even know if they let the guy out or not, but the guy didn't even want to talk about what was going on down there. They said he looked at older in the face. He was like real shook on something he seen down there. And I'm like, whether this story was true or not, the point of reference is using it for this situation. That's what most guys are getting themselves into. If you go get your passport, go over there to find a wife, go to do whatever you want with a purpose. Don't go over there like most of these young guys, they call them expats. Those expats, those military guys, they've been going over there. They've been dealing with women because certain rules and regulations or things that they want in their life and their environment. That's what they went over there for. I mean, going over there with the premise of just meeting women, you can meet these same women in America. So my thing is this: why spend all that money if you're going over there, even for prostitution? My thing is, I'm not condoning prostitution. I'm not like all that. Look how many prostitutes we got over here in America. Like, really? You know how Vegas is? Like, all these up. Like, I don't get it. Like, but my thing, to each his own. You go do it. You do it on your own. I'm just saying, it's just weird to me. It's kind of weird. You know, even with going with principles upon, you know, going into a relationship with people that's, not African American, particularly with the women, because you hear guys talk about that a lot. I'm like, okay, what's going on with this situation? Because if I don't want to deal with the black women in America, why do I have to announce it to everybody? Why do I have to wave the flag? I just go somewhere else. Even if I do, I'm talking in private to my friends that I don't like black women in America. I'm blah blah this and blah blah that. Why would I go online and like spew this, and now you got all these young guys spewing it? They don't even know what they're talking about. I don't understand. Like, dude, if the one thing I can say is funny because with the women are not talking about how they go to Dubai and go to Jamaica and do all this with these men like that. You finding out in these trips. You finding out these girls trips and what most of these women they not spewing this stuff and telling everybody. That's why I'm like, dude, like you guys are just telling everything. You like what's going on, man? I don't get it. Like really, I don't. I really don't get it. I don't understand it. Like it's just too crazy to me to fathom me sitting here telling everybody my business, putting all my stuff out there, and what for what? Like who am I helping with this? You know, even with situations, if I had a raw deal with a girl, I tell situations how a girl tried to play me, try to get money off me. I always tell people, me riding in trucks, driving trucks, having CDLs, having Class C license are two different things. As soon as I tell people, I move furniture. Oh, you drive a big truck? Nope. But you still get good money, don't you? Yeah, it's decent. Oh, now I'm a cash cow. And the funny part, like I told you, there are so many relationships that was decent. Some of them wasn't. But the point of reference is that I'm making with this, when you're hurting, you're in a situation and all you see is the money, you want to get over on people. So a lot of times women, they shoot their own self in the foot with that, trying to get over. Same thing with dudes. Dudes, dudes, you know how many women have literally said, I would have messed with you if you was this type or you just been truthful with me. You know how many women told me how other dudes could have been this and that with them if they would have been truthful with them. Even with them cheating, you know, you gonna cheat on me with this chick over here, and I kind of knew you was doing it, this and that, but all you had to do was just tell me the truth and be honest with me. You know how many dudes lost out in relationships like that? A lot of them. Women the same way. If your dude is boring, just tell him, hey man, you boring. I don't like you no more like that. You know, he might even want to stay with you. I mean, I personally wouldn't, but he might want to still stay with you because why? He just think you the finest girl in the world. I don't know, but the point of reference is like a lot of people got to start being truthful about situations. It's like a lot of men. Most of these chicks nowadays they be into that, poly relationships because they feel like, hey, to keep a good man, it's something I gotta do. I mean, it's weird, but it is what it is. Hold on. Yeah, sorry about that. But like I said, the crazy part, a lot of women, to a degree, might even stay in a poly relationship only because in that poly relationship, they look at it as it's better to have a good man that's gonna be there, pay the bills, and cheat this and that and that. However they look at it. But personally, with me, I always say this. Excuse me. I don't want that. I already dealing with one. Why do I need another? You know, what if I have two women with two attitudes at a certain given point? You know, not saying I'm gonna deal with a woman that's ratchet and crazy and stuff. I'll never, never put myself in that situation. But attitudes do occur. So when those attitudes occur, what you got to deal with the attitude where it's at that point in time. You know, might be an attitude that they want to go on vacation. Money's a little tight. They're a little tight. So of course the attitude is gonna be there. You know, not saying the attitude of I want to spend all this money. If you don't let me spend all this money, I'm gonna go crazy. I'm gonna spend it anyway. We're gonna be broke outside. No, it's to the degree. You know, and like I said, it's back and forth with people, man. Come on. You know, if I love this woman, why wouldn't I want to take care of her? Why would I want to invest time? A lot of times, a lot of guys don't want to hear this, and they say that they run the house. They don't run the house. The women run the house. I mean, ever since I was a little kid, my great granddad, I always heard stories of him how he ran and did everything. My great granddad was pretty much smart and educated to a degree, and he let my great grandma run the house. Pay the bills, this and that. She didn't work. The reason why he made her pay the bills and stuff, he always said it gave her something to do. He gave her something to do. And I'm like, wow, you know. And then when it come down to it, you gotta look at the fact of the matter is, you know, with women running the house, who take care of the kids? Who clean up the house? Who chooses what to cook? Unless she asking you, what do you want to eat tonight? Who chooses what to cook for the house? You know, when you go to the grocery store, do you buy all the groceries with the intent on you doing what? Buying what? Doing what? And that always be the craziest part about a lot of us. We say how we run this and we do this and we do that. Man, how much do you really run? You know, how much do you actually really run? You know, come on now. Let's be honest about that. A lot of people don't even go through counseling before they get. Me and my wife didn't go through counseling before we got married. There were some things that we found out about each other after we got married, but both of us had the mindset of fulfilling a relationship that lasts as long. I didn't plan on getting a divorce. She don't plan on getting a divorce. We plan on trying to make this work. You know, I've always said this. You know, and a lot of guys they kind of get on me about this to a point where I say I don't trust people. I love my wife. My wife never did nothing to make me don't trust her. But I take things for where they are, to where if something ever do happens, it's not gonna be a headache for me. You know, I kind of ride things and work with things the way they is, and let it be. A lot of people, and to a degree, I guess that's one of the things where it kind of distance people, put them to the side from not going to stay local and going crazy about this and that. But I mean, that's just how I live, because some people they go crazy over the women now. Yeah, but they'll go crazy over the women. That's like this one video I seen. It was a joke where the guy was doing the what is it called, work husband, and he was saying how he was a work husband, and the real husband called him and was like, "Man, when I see you, I'm gonna kill you. I'm this and that. I'll die for my woman. I'm this and that." And I'm laughing, and I'm like, the dude, he's just laughing, like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." And now you got to go to the job and try to find this dude. Like even get into that. If my wife have a work husband, like that shows that kind of what. Why do you need that? Why do you even have to play like that? I had a situation where a woman said something like that to me, and I laughed. I was like, I don't do that. I got one wife. I ain't got time to be messing with others. And then she laughed it off and was like, I was just playing. Yeah, because she was testing the water, testing the temperature, see where she fit on the scale. You know, I'm quite sure, like they always say, well, you tell all your friends that. Do you talk to all your people? That's what people do. You know, even with men, men do that to women to test them, see where they fit on the scale. You know, a lot of people pass, a lot of people fail. I ain't got time to be playing like that. My whole thing is, if I got all this time invested in my family, why would I have to give it up for some side chick? That side chick can ruin all these years of me being married, ruin time me not being with my kids. I'm gonna give all that up for what? That side chick probably don't even, really be all that. It's just something different that people get into. Hey, one old guy once told me, he was like, well, it wasn't an older guy. I think it was all us talking between the older women and the guys. But basically, I think it was a lady, she was saying that, men go to the strip club so much. Tell your woman to put on some, clothes like a stripper, and you get the ones and throw it at her and see how she move around. You know, tell her put on a wig or something, all that crazy stuff. People don't think like that. They just, man, I just want something different. I know what to tell you. Why you get mad if you want something different? And that's always my biggest thing. If you know the type of person you actually are, why get into the situation of getting married and trying to have long-term relationship with somebody? Why not just go ahead, stay single? Why not go ahead and put yourself in a situation to where, you always had your girlfriends, this and that, to where it won't be as bad, because if you get caught cheating, hey, you just get caught cheating, you go ahead. You get caught cheating in a marriage, you losing all that stuff. And the first thing I hear a lot of dudes say, man, she took everything. She did this and that. You did it. She didn't do it. You pursued to go outside your marriage, and you mad because she took everything. You made this function happen. I don't get that with a lot of times when people cheat and then they want to be the victim. Man, it was just one time. I mean, it is too, to a point where if a woman cheat, a man go overboard. But if a man cheat, he expects her to, be a little more lenient on him. That's weird in my book. You know, I always say it, but like I say, if I say something like that amongst other guys, it's just kind of crazy. You know, my thing is, why get married with these circumstances? Why get married in this situation to where, if you truly don't really like this person like that, but they're a good provider, hey, tell them, hey man, I don't really like you like that, but I like you. You know, I hope I don't cheat on you, but if I do cheat on you, I'm just letting you know ahead of time. You know, from the man's side, he probably won't like it, but at the same time, hey, but we can be together like this because I really do want to be with you, but it's this and that time. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, being honest, that be the biggest thing. I always say that. I told my friends, I even told my wife that. I said, man, you cheat on me, I'm gone. Because my thing is this: if you want to play these games, you better let me know we playing these games. Personally, I don't want to do that crap anyway. Like I said, When I got married, that was my whole thing for saying that I don't want to be with no other woman. So if I'm, doing the right thing and you not, oh, I'm really upset about that because my thing is this, and I laugh, I make little jokes about me turning down other women and stuff like that. I laugh and make jokes about that, me turning down other women just to, you know, be faithful to you, and then you go off and cheat. Oh man, I'm finna go crazy. Nah, but it's true. Like if we both come to the agreements of having a monogamous relationship, and you feel this certain type of way, my thing is this: most people they see the signs, but sometimes it's just one of those things that people do on a whim and think they never gonna get caught, and it digs and eat at them so much. So sometimes they go ahead and tell. But hey, if I know, I'm gone, because my thing is that like you ain't gonna sit here there have me look like the fool. I'm sitting up here doing the right thing, being honest with you, and then all of a sudden I get a text or I find, man, I'm gonna be so PO. That's even like I think one of my partners was saying, your old lady cheating. I said, I don't know. I said, I know I'd be mad, but the thing is, I don't know what I'd do in that point. They be like, man, would you kill her? I said, most likely, dog, I wouldn't even want to talk to her. I'd rather go ahead and calm myself down before I do something. And it's not even the point of me doing it to, beat her or that crazy. I'm doing it out of disrespect. Especially if you messing around in the house, that's disrespect. You know, go have some decency and go do it out there in the street and get caught something like that. That's real disrespect. And then to have a continuous relationship like that, that's even more disrespectful. You know, to have a continuous relationship dealing with somebody for years. I mean, you know how many people have done that? Like I know this one dude, he was messing with this chick he met out of town. At first she didn't say she had somebody. She was, kind of pushing it off as, she's single type, whatever. Then turn around, this chick, she got a whole husband. So she fooled around, had her husband, and the husband found out, don't know how, end up trailing her to meet up with the guy. They kicked it that night, and she left the next morning, did what she did or whatever. Not the dude knocked on the door, and when he opened the door, the guy, all he seen was, he couldn't even remember the guy's face. He said all he remembered was seeing a gun pointing at his head, and the dude was like, "Don't you ever, 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 ever deal with this woman again. I'll kill you." He literally, like, he said he almost peed on himself. Hold on, right quick. I'm trying to catch these comments. Yeah, don't be a fool by the kid. Yeah, yeah, that's bad too. Hanging around the situation. Yeah, but that was the thing though. Now, when he found out she was married, he was shocked about it. But my thing was this: after that situation, guess what he did? He continued to deal with the woman. So at that point, he knew he was risking his own life. That's what I didn't like about that situation. You know, when he found out about her and all that other stuff, okay, cool. But in that situation where he kept dealing with her, I'm like, who's to blame? You stayed with the chick after she her husband came out. You told the chick her husband met up with her, and they had their little situation. They had they out. She called, said that she was gonna leave him because he did that, but he stayed. So like, my thing is, when people put themselves in those situations like that, who are we to blame? You know, you dealing with somebody knowing the consequences of you keep messing around. This eventually is gonna happen, and it's not gonna be good. It's not pretty. How many people get caught in these situations all the time due to lacking and you know for sex? Just like you were saying earlier about the cat not being, putting yourself in a situation, Queena. I'm like, man, I just can't do it. Like even to the point of that guy getting that gun put on him, not one time but twice. And that second time, the dude started hitting on him and really wanted to beat him up. But then he said the guy said that she wasn't even worth it and then left. I'm like, wow, you dodged the bullet to where it could have been far worse than what happened. But at what point was he gonna say is enough enough? You know, that was the point. Like I think he was. I don't even know if he might be still dealing with this chick to this day. I know she ended up leaving her husband finally, but I'm like, man, like I don't think no sex is worth my life. Even to the point of messing around nowadays, you know, a lot of people you gotta look at sex with people having STDs and stuff. But even like I say with STDs being rampant and a big thing, like man, like why would you even put yourself in that situation with STDs being like the way they is? I just don't get it. Like I'm gonna sit here and mess around with somebody. Like I said, if I mess around on my wife, and most of the time, 9 times out of 10, people do not like wearing condoms. Honestly speaking, I don't care. You can say you wear condoms all the time. You protect yourself. On the average, even with older people, they do not like wearing condoms. As you get older, like even to the point of STDs being rampant in the nursing homes, big time in the nursing home. You know how many nursing homes, like, man, yeah. And that's what I was saying about with them house, what is it called? Work husbands. A lot of them work husband things, man, that'd be crazy. I'm like, man, your work husband about to kill somebody over you. Dang, I forgot I got my other phone over here. Instead of be doing this. Say what's calling? I mean, that be the biggest thing, man. Like I say, with them work husbands, that junk is crazy. Like I don't get it with a lot of these people doing that stuff. You putting yourself on the line. Times, man, I just don't get it. Like you put so much on the line for these situations, and is it really worth it? Because in the end, what always goes on when you deal with these work husbands and these work wives and stuff like that. You play a little bit too much, and then it goes too far. You know, then it gets to a point like I seen this funny skit. So the dude, his birthday comes, none of his kids wish him happy birthday. None of his co-workers wish him happy birthday. And then he gets the manager. So the manager comes in, the manager says, happy birthday, this and that. Cool. Gets the manager tell her happy birthday. He goes so-called, I guess, to the manager house or something like that after work. And as he goes to the manager house, the manager say, "Oh, I'm gonna go in the bathroom and slip on some comfortable this and that." I guess that's a sign for the family to come out and tell him happy birthday. He gets butt naked, sitting on the sofa with the kids, wife, family members all coming there. I mean, even though I know it's a skit, but still, the point is, man, like, you know how embarrassing and how crazy that is for you to be sitting here butt naked in front of your family members and friends, thinking you finna get some, and they know they to a point where they think that they know that you're not gonna smash the coworker only because you're such a loyal person. And it's crazy because even if that jump was true to the point where you go through the whole day and you feel like nobody's loving you or nobody then you get to that one. Like honestly, that's the thing with most dudes. They feel like nobody loved them. Like it's honestly a crazy thing, man. Like these dudes will feel like nobody loved them. And if they feel nobody loved them, then what? Hey, it's only right for them to they feel like they should do that to that woman. Smash her and all this other stuff. And I'm like, man, this is just a crazy situation that a lot of people put themselves in, and they like, man, I ain't got nobody to blame with myself. You know, I put myself in this situation, and it gets like that sometimes. You be in situations to where, hey, I kind of force myself. You know, my wife not showing me no attention at home. And this one thing I laugh at this too. It's one thing if your wife doesn't show you no attention and you don't let her know, then it's another thing if you out here just smashing and dashing, and then when your wife find out, you throw it in the face. You never show me no attention. Like I've always told my wife, I was like, if I cheat, I'm gonna let you know. And she was like, what? Like, what? I'm like, look, if I'm sitting here, we ain't having sex, and I had this conversation that it goes over some, I say women to the degree and some women head. Sex is a big part of marriage. The only difference from me having sex with you and not having sex is we're friends. And if you're my friend, I'm not paying your bills. I'm not paying your bills as my friend. You know, because when you're married, you pay the bills. You take care of your family and stuff like that. But why am I paying my friends' bills? Nah, I'm not doing that. Nah. So that's one of the big difference, in us in that relationship in that aspect. I'm not paying my friends' bills. A lot of people, you look at that situation to where people always be talking about that. Nah, I'm not doing all that. Like I said, the ministry stuff, it has those talks. Yeah, it is a crazy skit, the irony of it. But a lot of guys have those talks, and I tell them, I get it. A lot of guys got that raw deal in these situations to where, you know, they really feel like nobody really loves them. You know, you have a situation to where when it comes down to it, the only person that benefits you or really is there for you is one person, and if that yeah, I'm finna get off of here, y'all. Good little talk. I might come back later, but like I said, I just be back and forth with these conversations. That video kind of like wanted me to talk about some of this stuff because I said I was gonna start another channel because, like I said, I'm gonna end up putting this video to be private anyway because I don't like talking about certain things like this on this channel because I want to keep it more focused on business. Like I said, you got other channels that talk about stuff like this and deal and go through it. but they don't come with the same perspective I do of looking at it from both sides. Yes, men do mess up. Yes, women do mess up. But we got to deal with these consequences where they are and, you know, try to work for the greater good of what? The community, helping each other. Yeah, that was my wife just calling. So, we have our morning talks and stuff. That's why I say when I'm on in the morning, I cut off, I'm good. And I kind of went over because usually, we talk to each other about close to 11 or something, 10 or 11, see how her day's going, what she doing. She asked me how my day going and what we're gonna do for today or anything we have planned for the rest of the week. I might remind her of something that she need to do. She might remind me of something I need to do. That's the whole thing of us working together. You know, what we gotta do for the kids, what we cooking today. What's this and that. And I kind of laugh at sometimes when people are always talking about, uh, the woman is the cook. I like cooking. I tell people I like cooking. So why would I not cook? Yeah, I mean the relationship aspect of it is, man, finding someone that you can, deal with and getting out of your realm. These women are everywhere. You gotta go look for them. If you don't want to look, then I mean, honestly, and I say this a lot, the older you get, that diamond in the rough becomes hidden real easy. You know, and my friend, he found that out to the point where he got married later on in his life, and the woman just changed up on him. She was this good, submissive woman, and she did everything right in his eyesight, but over time she changed. Another woman I know, she did the same thing. Later on in life she changed, and I was like, if she changed, you change. You know, I told my wife that. I said, I'm not gonna continue being the best husband for you, and you turn into the worst wife for me. Like that's one of the biggest things of ending it for us to get a divorce. Like I want to be good for the family and good for you, and I expect you to be good and for the family for me. You know, us working together for the greater good, that builds our community, that builds our family, that builds the structure for the generation to come, for our grandkids and our kids. You know, we have to look at things in a positive light and seeing that if you want to be a good person, you want to be successful in life, you want to be a good wife, you got to put in that time. Same thing as the men. Like I say, I talk from both standpoints. Men and women both have to work together for the greater good. Otherwise, what are you doing in a relationship? What are you actually doing to help each other? Because you can go messing around with any and everybody, but at same being, you know, what is that relationship gaining you or garnering? So working on that, being a better you, treating people with respect, that stuff goes a lot farther in life if you really look at it. But saying the least, somebody jump off the hill. Shout out to everybody that came through. Back to business talk as usual. Like I said, I'm gonna put this private and bring it out probably on one of my other channels I got. But say the least, we got to do better. Like I know this whole situation where a lot of people want to talk about this gender war and back and forth and this, but like I keep saying, at the end of the day, you're gonna get old, and when you get old, you're gonna need finance. I know a guy I just talked to the other day. He want to retire. Hey, go ahead and start getting his unemployment. No, I'm sorry, unemployment. He want to go ahead and start getting his SSI check at 61. But they told him if he make over $21,000, they're gonna penalize him for making too much money. He's already gonna be getting $1,800 a month, and if he makes anything over 2,100 plus that $1,800 a month, they're gonna penalize him. He's 61. He said, I don't know if I live to be 65 or 67 when I can make all the money I want and still get my unemployment. So I want to go ahead and get some of that money now. And I told him, yeah, that's a good thing. But to the point, you can't retire now. You don't have the money. And he was like, yeah, I should have got a pension. I should have did an IRA. I should have invested in the 401k. I said, what about your life insurance? Yeah, I got my life insurance, but I'm leaving it for the grandkids. I'm like, yeah, but you should have got a universal life insurance. It would have went a lot farther. So like I keep saying, like I did with this screen before that, probably want to go back and look at that. Just brief talk, about the knowledge. A lot of people lacking on the knowledge. That's what hurt us the most. Who's giving us this information to help us succeed in life? I talked about the checking account. Something simple as getting a checking account can grow money and help you with this. In here taking the money, go to the check cashing place, and not knowing that we can benefit by doing this and doing that. Well, who giving us the knowledge? If our parents not knowing it, they're not teaching it to us. I always talk about, people that have the knowledge. I go seek them and I go get the knowledge. I go then pass it to my kids. I go see people that know the knowledge. Let them be a mentor by let my kids be a mentor by them so they can teach it to them. Each one teach one. I always say that you're gonna get old, and when you get old, what are you gonna do with the responsibility on your life, your kids' life, your grandkids' life? So with that being said, everything can be entertaining to a degree, but you gotta sit here and get the knowledge at one point in your life. With that being said, I always say, I'm out.